I don't know if you guys know what a simp is, but that's the question we're gonna try to answer in 10 minutes. What is a simp?
Now, who left this in the kitchen? Better not be a woman, because women don't belong in the kitchen, but they belong in the workforce just like men, unless they do like cooking, in which case we should empower them to be in the kitchen. Now, I know you probably have a couple of questions at this point, like why are all these people listening to me talk about simps, or why do women refuse to go on dates with me? It's because I'm ugly. Or because America's racist and they find Asian males super undesirable. Last year, I really wanted to give a college lecture, so I emailed a bunch of different professors asking if I could do that, and all of them treated me like I had a crush on them or something because they all rejected me except for one professor from UCSD, and apparently it went so well last year that she invited me back this year, so I decided to give a lecture on a field that I've studied for years. Simps. Now, I'm gonna show you this lecture, but since it's kind of boring watching a video of my small head talk, I'm gonna overlay a video of my big head cooking ramen. Why ramen? Because the only people watching a lecture on simps are hopeless ramentics.
I went to UCLA. This is more or less what my diploma looked like when they sent it over. So if you're graduating, don't get your hopes up. But in my communication classes, I learned a lot of stuff that I don't use. But there is a lot of people nodding their head. I hope you guys are learning useful stuff. There is one thing though that I learned in one of my classes that I use almost on an everyday basis, not just in my professional sphere, but also on a personal perspective, and that's this idea of simps. I don't know if you guys know what a simp is. I'm assuming you do, maybe you don't, but that's the question we're going to try to answer in 10 minutes. What is a simp? Simps began in 1903. Yes, before 1903 there was no such thing as a simp. And the reason for that is because, first of all, society was just way better off in 1903, I guess. But also because the new Partridge Dictionary of Slang and Unconventional English says this is the first time this word appeared in our language. And back then, it meant a shortened version of simpleton. So the phrase's original meaning is rooted in calling someone stupid. And so the connotation that I take away from this, the paraphrase of this, is that if you're a simp, you're stupid. It's kind of like what it means nowadays too, I guess, but a little bit different. If you fast forward a little bit, does anyone know what this is? This wonderful artistic drawing representation of something? Great. Cool. It's very obviously 50 Cent's album. Very obviously. But no, 50 Cent had this album called Get Rich or Die Trying. And I'm not going to pretend like I even enjoyed this album or enjoyed 50 Cent, but he has a song on this album called PIMP, which stands for Pimp. And the reason that's important is, first of all, because it rhymes with simp. But second of all, I'm not making this part up. In the 1980s and the 2000s, the word simp began to mean something a little bit different than just short for stupid. It actually began to mean the opposite of pimp, which is why this slide exists. But if you keep fast forwarding and you fast forward again, you get to today and you go to Urban Dictionary and you get this wonderful, wonderful description of simp: someone who does way too much for a person they like. Kind of sounds like me a little bit, but anyways, the important part about this is that I actually lied in the beginning. I never learned what this was in a class. I learned this just going to college and talking to friends and being on social media. But there is something I learned in a class. It was in my intimate relationships class, which was about communication in romantic relationships. And that's a real class at UCLA. Very, very good class, actually. But the phrase that they taught us in this class was something called unrequited love. Unrequited? Is it unrequited? I clearly did not pass the class. But anyways, they taught us this phrase, and the definition they gave us for this is a love that is not understood or reciprocated as much as the beloved. Basically, this is used to describe anyone who loves someone too much and the love isn't returned. And immediately, if you're like me, you hear this in class and you have a reaction. You have two thoughts that come to your head if you're like me. Number one is, wow, this is trying to describe me. But the second thing that you get is, wow, this is literally just what a simp is. It's like two different words, two different phrases to describe the same thing. And that's kind of the idea that I want to talk about today. This is a beautiful slide here. If you just look at the slide. If you split this slide in half, on the left you got this unrequited love part. It's cleaner, it's crisper, and that's one way to present information. On the other half, you got this somewhat beautifully drawn half heart, and then my handwriting that spells sim. For some of you guys, if I presented all of these slides like the left half and made it clean, it would resonate more with you guys. For others of you guys, if you're like me, you like the right side more. You like this poorly drawn, rough around the edges depiction of what a simp is. And the point I'm trying to get across is oftentimes in education, in institutions, basically anywhere you have to be a professional, they package material and information in a certain way. But that doesn't mean that information is new. You might have had that information your entire life. My entire life I knew what a simp was. But my entire life I never knew what the left side meant, but it's the same exact thing. And the point I'm trying to get across is that whether you're on the left side or the right side, you're still viewing the same thing, and neither one is better or worse than the other. Neither way of packaging that information is better or worse for a single person. All that's to say, if you're an unrequited lover or if you're a simp, it's both okay.
Yes, it is okay to be a simp. Not an actual one though, just a metaphorical one. In case you didn't understand the lecture, my big point was that you don't have to present yourself a certain way in order to be accepted. How do I know? Because I've seen it in my own life. I've been hired for professional video editing jobs after people saw video edits like this and this and this. I've gotten more job offers after interviewing in a hoodie than when I've interviewed in a suit. I've had girls that had crushes on me even though I wore dry fit and basketball shorts everywhere. Okay, that last part is a lie, but don't be acting like you haven't seen guys with girls way out of their league. What I'm trying to say is that it is completely possible to be very successful in life while being exactly who God created you to be. And no, this isn't shade on people who are super professional either. Everyone has their place in this world, and the things that make us unique are often what give us the most value. All that's to say, whether you're a simp or an unrequited lover, be who you were meant to be. Sounded better in my head, I'm not gonna lie. Would you like to get frozen yogurt with me?
Yeah.
Actually?
Yeah.
Let's get froyos. Like
Okay,
actually.
right now?
Do you want it?